welcome to the Normal America Show. Your host, robnoerr. It's me. I'm alive, but I kind of don't feel like it. I don't know what it is. Got a bit of a bug or something. Feel just congested and a little sick. And in addition to that, I don't know what's going on with my left eye here, but it's super watery today. So maybe it's allergies. I don't know. It's annoying. Makes it hard to read. I'm an old man. I've never been to the eye doctor once in my life. I think it's time. I bought these like just readers at Walmart. All these look. How's that? Do I look intellectual now from wearing the readers? I don't know. This might be me. You might be looking at this guy in the near future. You know, but not today, baby. No glasses yet. Yeah, that's true. Readings for smart people. Yeah. The great weight bugs. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like crap today, but I have no reason to feel like crap mentally. I feel it's a good day. A very good day. Apparently, I'm looking at the weather here, and this is how you know you're watching an old man boomer uh, stream. I'm going to talk about the weather. It's been raining so crazy here in Pennsylvania where I'm at, and the the back of my yard just soaks up the water so bad, so it's hard to mow. And so you'll get like one day a week maybe where it hasn't been raining and you get out there and you rush to mow, but it looks like shit. Apparently we're supposed to have like 2 weeks of non-rain and decent weather. So I'm very excited. I'm like, oh great. I'll actually be out there and be able to do some yard work. And I got a play set, like a big playground that a friend of mine is going to come help me build for my son. We can play out in the yard more. I'm very much looking forward to it. I love living in Pennsylvania, here in rural Pennsylvania. I do. It's where everyone I am really friends with lives, and it's a great place. I love it. But man, the winters suck. It really does. So I'm itching for the weather to get good. I'm tired of crappy weather. Let's get some good weather. We're entering June. You got like June till September, maybe early October of decent weather. Let's get it in. And get some good time. So, why is Candace attending the World Economic Forum in St. Petersburg, Russia? Russia. She's the keynote speaker. I don't know. Is that true? The Penn State Fighting Sandusky's. Leave them alone. Um, I'm actually more of a Pitt fan than a Penn State fan. But growing up, I liked both Pitt and Penn State. Um, and then I'm probably geographically closer to West Virginia, the Mountaineers, than I am to Penn State. But those were the 2 to 3 teams I liked growing up. Uh, Whatever. I'm not really into college sports. Never was that big into it. I used to like Pitt basketball, but they always let you down. Even when they had a year that they were supposed to be decent, they would get beat in the tournament early. Of course, I've been to Latrobe. Yeah, I've been to Latrobe. Yeah. I don't know. Candace Owens is sucks. She's gonna do whatever. You know, people that don't like Trump are gonna have her come speak. That's the way it goes, I guess. Anyways, good show lined up for you here today. Do we? I don't know. I honestly can't say today's show may suck because it's about you, the callers. I assume you'll do a great job, but I guess I don't know. You guys might suck. It's possible. I've been having some terrible. My computer. I don't know what the hell's going on with it. It's getting to the point of absurdity. It won't takes me forever to get it started. Then half the time when it starts, like the other night, you saw it just crashes on me. I don't know what's going on. So we're gonna take emergency measures, and I'm just gonna rip the band-aid, I think, and just purchase a computer. Um, so apologies for that. Well, look at that. Finally, someone who's smart. Thank you. I appreciate it. Uh, what's the story with the new computer? I thought one pretty much had arrived. I don't know. Um, I'll try to figure that out today and see what's going on. So, I don't know. Also, there is not a computer here. Right? That's all I could say. I mean, the computer I'm using is here. So, we will do our best. I know that uh, it's been as far as I know, as a guy who knows nothing about computers, the few people I know that like actually do know about computers are telling me that it's difficult to get a lot of parts now on like a reasonable level. So I don't know if there's problems of that nature. Uh, I would never sell out. Oh, sell out the United States. I thought that said would never sell out to the United States for easy clout money. I was like, don't be so sure. Yeah, fuck that, man. I'm not selling out my country. Nope, not happening. Um, on a political level, do I feel more optimistic for the future right now than I did 5 to 10 years ago? Let's see. Well, that 5 to 10's tough, right? Because 10 years ago to this day, yeah, I didn't feel much optimism at all. I assumed Trump would lose the 2016 election because the corruption wouldn't let him win. 5 years ago, I don't know. I guess I feel better now because even though I'm still not optimistic, things will turn out the way I want. At least the other side's desperate enough because they're just announcing we're going to pack the courts, we're going to do this. They may win and get to do that, in which case it's very bad. But the fact that they feel it necessary, at least to me, shows they're at least fearful. So I would say yes. Uh, yeah, I'll have to look into. I think as far as I'm just look, I'm not. What I'm looking for in a PC primarily is I want to be able to do like multiple calls at the same time. So I want to be able to be streaming on StreamYard and do a Zoom call without my computer crashing. And maybe while I'm doing that, I'm bringing up a video to talk about on YouTube, right? That's what I'm looking for in a PC. Maybe then on some off time, I play some games. As far as I know, nothing I play. The most recent game I bought was Marvel's Midnight Suns. I don't think it's too heavy on a computer. I don't do much online gaming. So I don't know. I feel I have about $3,500. I think is what I plan on budgeting. So I'm hoping for that. Even with the increase in prices, that I'll be able to get something. So I'm going to pull the trigger and try to get something here by early next week because I'm afraid the rate that this computer is shitting the bed, I might not be streaming next week if I don't have. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of stuff that potentially happens in the background um, that I don't talk about. So, like, it's 50 times worse for someone like Andrew. Like, Andrew's always, everybody, I suppose it's not just Andrew, but it's anyone once you get to a certain level where, you got 4,000 people watching you a night. All of a sudden, a lot of shows are, hey, will you come do this show? Hey, can you work on this project? Hey, would you be willing to speak at this event? Hey, would you be willing to debate this person? I don't get anywhere near that amount, but I get some of it. And sometimes it's exciting offers. Like the deal with Word War, I knew about that 4 months before I did it. And it wasn't as exciting as it initially sounded, but uh, I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say I'm going to be working with Sam Tripoli and Andrew on this big project. Uh, so I'm not going to tell you the details, but there are things in the background where it's like, hey, there's an exciting offer. There's an exciting offer that you might be part of. And it's going to require a consistent internet and computer, and you're going to be doing exciting stuff and potentially live with big name people. And my biggest fear is that that offer comes through, and then I'm doing it, and my computer keeps crashing, and they're like, "This was a mistake. Why did we go with this guy?" And then I lose my opportunities in the future, where people are going to be like, "Yeah, you know what? We're not going to work with that guy. He's not reliable." I thank you, Max. I appreciate it, man. I do. Uh, so for me, it was like everyone's been generous enough. I put aside $3,500 for a computer, and we've been doing our best to try to get that built. And it's for whatever reason it's not here. So we started the project in December. So um, I know that there's been just crazy shit going on, like the computer market, etc. It's not. I'll say this. This is all I'll say about it. It is 20 times bigger than Piers Morgan, and it's not doing a one-time show. It would be doing something that you it would be insane. Now I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it's an opportunity, and I'm afraid if it does happen. And Warman says, "Stop watching all that porn." I can sway for. I swear this from the bottom of my heart. There has never been any pornography at all on this computer or crazy shit downloaded, save two exceptions. One, I don't know why. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when you're scrolling X and sometimes just like nude shit or semi-nude shit will pop up, but it's not like anything I ever clicked on. Then I did click on Coach Mim's link, I guess, which isn't porn, but I guess that could have fucked up my computer. I don't know. But no, there's not been anything. There's not been anything shady. Like I haven't really downloaded anything shady or any shit like that. Uh, it's that the no porn. The PCs. They're like, "Hey, what's going on? No pornography here. We just don't know how to run." Right. Now the phone riddled with pornography. uh, all right. Let's get into the show. The links to call in, I think I pinned on YouTube and Rumble. Did I pin it on YouTube? Maybe I didn't. Let me make sure I pinned that. Yeah, it's pinned. Okay. Let's see. Whatever you guys want to talk about within terms of service, there's a lot to talk about. We can talk about drama. We could talk about, some potential stories that I was going to cover here later in the day. Of course, the big news with Paxton winning and John Cornyn losing. I think the final tally is 27%. This is insane when you realize that since for like 20 years, basically, no incumbent senator has lost their primary. And we've had that happen twice in the past 10 days, which is absolute crazy. So what does this mean? For me, I think it really signifies not just Trump's popularity. I think that's an easy thing to take away from this, right? But more to the fact, it signifies people's insane frustration with a lack of anything really being done in the legislative branch at all. And I've been saying this for a year and a half. What Republicans control the presidency, the House, and the Senate. What legislatively, what have they accomplished? They passed the beautiful bill. They passed a continuing resolution that was literally the same one that the Democrats passed in 2024. Some resolution condemning socialism. And what else? Haven't ended blue slips so Trump can't get his appointments. Haven't allowed. They've done pro forma sessions so that Trump can't appoint any recess appointments. Haven't passed the SAVE Act. Haven't got rid of the parliamentarian. Haven't enshrined Doge cuts into the spending bills. Haven't built the wall. Haven't enshrined Trump's immigration metrics into legislation. What have they done? Almost everything that you could point to as a positive was done by the executive branch. Almost everything. I don't know what to say. And when you have John Cornyn, who, it's as if they think that politics will work the same way it worked 30 years ago. Right? Where it's like before internet, where you just, whatever your local nightly news told you was going on. And maybe you went to some, maybe you went to a Republican or Democrat, county meeting or something once in a blue moon. And all they told you was, oh yeah, our guy's doing great. He's giving everything you want. Trust me, he's great. Cornyn, let's see if I can find this ad. We're at a time right now where the biggest single issue probably with the electorate, with the Republican electorate, is probably immigration. Anyone disagree with that? Sure, the economy is always number one, but that ties into immigration. They want all the issues around it, like you want voter ID to ensure that illegals aren't voting. We're tired with like the Somali fraud and all this stuff. What? This is the ad that Cornyn was putting out. I mean, this is truly unbelievable. This is a real ad that Cornyn put out. This is not fake.
El uno al otro, Texas tiene una mano tranquila y firme cuidándonos. El senador John Cornyn. El senador Cornyn ha luchado para detener el tráfico sexual, especialmente a lo largo de la frontera. Él apoya la reforma policial. Y mientras el senador Cornyn está a favor de fronteras seguras, él apoya firmemente la legalización de los Dreamers.
I'm John Cornyn, and I approve this message.
How did he? They literally just thought, and when you find out that over $100 million were spent by like Republican PACs, that John Thune was directing money, not to win a general election, to win a primary. $100 million. $100 million in a general election could shore up 2 to 3 Senate seats. And they're sending this doofus money to run on Amnesty for Dreamers, to put ads out in Spanish. And they're still shocked. Like Thune and company, all the establishment Republicans are shocked this morning. Well, how did this happen? How did we lose like this? And of course, they're going to take the wrong lesson from it. They're going to take the lesson, blame Trump. It's Trump's fault. No, don't blame Trump. Blame yourselves. The Republicans have a rich history of this, of people that claim to be in positions of leadership in their party, who then, on their way out the door, show the greatest contempt for their own constituents. John Boehner did it. Michael Steele. You know Michael Steele on, what's he on? MSNBC or CNN? One of them. I get them mixed up. Black guy. You would be like, oh, that guy like lifelong Democrat. Now he used to be the chair of the RNC. There he is. Hates the Republican voters. Tillis, Cornyn, Thune, Paul Ryan, all these people that were in these prestigious positions, they're like, they basically can't stand their own constituents. They'll bullshit to them, then get elected, and then be like, we're not even going to pay lip service to that shit. Not even going to pay lip service. $100 million spent on that piece of shit. Well, I fought very hard. 24 years he will have been in the Senate. And what did he accomplish? So we could talk about that. And then the other story that's worth talking about, it's just absolute insanity. I mean, obviously, we could talk about whatever you want. I know there's a lot of drama stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. But this this is what vote Democrat. This is where we're leading. Nationalist activist and former Belgian MP Dries van Langenhoven has been found guilty of hate speech for presenting migrant crime statistics and scientific data on racial differences in a lecture. Yes, a MP in Belgium has been found guilty of presenting data. Now, here's his statement. He says, a very sad announcement. I've just been convicted for a second time for hate speech, and it's only due to a technicality that I could not immediately be sent to jail to the judge's frustration. An ironic turn of events, it's actually thanks to my previous prison sentence for memes in a private group chat that I am now still free, in a physical sense at least. Call me naive, but I didn't think it would take it this far, given that this precedent criminalizes many of the arguments used by even the most moderate politicians critical of mass migration. In February 2024, I gave a lecture at Catholic University Leuven wherein I linked mass migration to crime and a deterioration of our quality of life. Every single point I made was 100% the truth and based on scientific evidence. Cynically, even the judge that convicted me admits as much by writing in his verdict. And this is the part that should scare the shit out of all of you. You ready? You ready for this? This is from the judge's verdict. Even if all the statements made by Van Langenhoven are based on scientific evidence and statistics, it makes no difference to the criminal intent. Van Langenhoven is not charged with spreading false information. He is charged with presenting facts in a way that incites hatred against persons on the grounds of one or more of the protected criteria in the anti-racism law. That's a lot of words to say he wants to send me to prison for speaking the truth. Even the regime media writes, it did not matter to the court that Van Langenhoven was quoting scientific sources. The judge argued that his main message was a big part of the societal problems like insecurity, housing shortages, and lower educational standards are due to mass migration. Both public prosecutor and the judge did not present a single real argument as to how or against whom I incited hatred. The only argument they present is that I created a hostile atmosphere of us versus them in regards to migrants. He goes on to later have a post that says, if you're in Belgium and you say that white people are a problem and quote fake statistics saying how evil white people are, totally fine. That's law abiding. But if you say there's a problem with migrants and quote the truth from scientific articles, that's a crime. Yeah, and Vita nails it. Now, we've talked about it a lot in this channel, the idea of what is disinformation. And granted, I got most of it from Mike Benz, but he talks specifically about how in the United States, through our CIA and other intel cutouts, and then groups that they're working with in the European Union and elsewhere, they identify 3 types of disinformation that need to be censored. First is disinformation. This is information that's not true, but you didn't know it to not be true. So, for example, if I said, I think that Cornyn won yesterday, and I didn't know, I just thought I heard that, that's disinformation. It's wrong. I'm sorry, that's misinformation. Disinformation is a lie. So I say something that's not true, and it's a lie. That's disinformation. Malinformation, which is the scariest, is information that's true, but that the people with power don't want you saying. And Mike Benz has been blowing the whistle on this, and I've been talking about it. That's the real purpose of the war on disinformation. They don't want to silence you because they think you're wrong. They want to silence you because they know you're right. That's why they want to shut you up. So malinformation becomes the most important thing to censor. True information that's inconvenient. For example, did you know vaccines have side effects? It's true. No one would disagree with that. And so when you look to the COVID vaccine and say, well, here's the potential side effects, that's true information you're imparting. And yet they would censor you because it's malinformation. Because to the people in power, they're like, but we want people to take the vaccine. Therefore, we should censor anyone who's giving information that talks about potential risks of vaccines. Now you see it done with migrants. Think of the level of corruption that goes into this. First, they bury the statistics that talk about just how much crime and how much of a drain on these countries migrants are. Then they manufacture bullshit statistics. Then they tell you, and if you cite any statistics that disagree with this, we're going to arrest you for inciting racial hatred. Meanwhile, you're allowed to talk all the shit you want about the domestic white populations. Imagine if inciting hatred against a racial group, if that was something that we could jail people for, how many black scholars would be in prison right now that have contempt for white people? You think that'd fly? As soon as one got arrested, we'd have riots 3 times what we saw with George Floyd. But we already see what's happening in Europe, that it's going the opposite way. And mark my words, that's what they're trying to bring here to the States as well. So that's what we're looking at today. Now, your part, we got the links to call in linked at the top and bottom. So call in if you like. And send in super chats if you like this type of show with the call-in show, etc. Much appreciate it. Let's get to the few super chats we have. Polly Shortcuts. $2 says, let's go day shift. We'll see, man. We've been slacking on day shift. We did good yesterday, or whatever it was. Monday. Chronicles Lives. $5 says, I don't know if you already talked about the fallout between Connor and Destiny. Thoughts? All right, I'm going to give the Connor Destiny drama and I'm probably wrong on a lot of these facts because I've just seen little clips online, so I guess if you're deeply concerned about this issue, go look into it more. But here is my understanding of basically what's happening. Destiny gets accused of sending videos of sexual acts he's been involved in to basically an OnlyFans person, and then that person gets hacked. And then they release videos of Destiny blowing some dude and him having sex with ladies, etc. One of those ladies, named Pixie, claims she knew that she was being filmed, but she did not give consent for Destiny to send that to other people. And so she's suing Destiny because she feels that her private videos that she shared with an intimate partner wasn't intended to be shared with other people. Part of Destiny's defense is she shared this shit with other people without my permission. So I thought, oh, okay, it's not a secret thing. We can share it with who we want. That's part of Destiny's argument. Which, to be fair, if she was showing this shit around, doesn't that make her as much of a villain as Destiny? If they both did the same thing? Anyways, that leads to a big fallout. Then there was another woman named Cherry who claims that she was presented audio, not video, but audio that had circulated of her having intercourse with Destiny. And so he recorded her audio without her consent, is the allegation. Now, I don't know what's happened with that allegation. Okay? In addition, I have no idea what this part is, but apparently there is an allegation that that Destiny, I don't know if it was from this hack or what, but that Destiny had images of of some sort of a sexual nature of someone who was under the age of 18. I don't know that to be true or not. I don't know. All of this is just allegations. To be fair, the whole thing, for me, it's just degenerates being degenerate. What the fuck ever. You know? My interest in this from the get-go was all of these people I dealt with that were orbiters of Destiny. If you're going to be like Dan Saltman, who's like one of Destiny's friends in this, who's just like, yes, shitty behavior from Destiny, I just don't give a fuck, he's my friend. I sort of respect that. Up to a point, you know. But okay, fine. But there were people that it seemed were like making calculated, ooh, do I back Destiny on this? How will that help or hurt my streaming career? Do I condemn him? Do I try to stay silent? That's the shit to me that's even more laughable. Where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's so pathetic. You're going to stand up there and act like, oh, we really care about victims and shit like that. But only insofar as it helps my streaming career. Those are the types of people that I find the most egregious in the sense of, like, fake, like, virtue signaling that you give a shit about stuff. You don't care. You're just trying to do what's best for your brand. It's fucking ridiculous. If you're going to stand by Destiny because you're like, fuck it, it's my friend, and if that hurts my streaming career, I don't give a fuck. That I could at least say, okay. Anyways, so that was it. I weighed in on some of that. Then comes Connor. Connor is this dude he was formerly a conservative. He went by the name Counterpoints. So Counterpoints, as I mentioned the other day, he used to be on, like, back in Twitch poll panel debates in, like, 2019, 2020, around about those times. He was one of the people he was borderline left-wing. He was, like, centrist. But he was one of the few people on the right that actually could debate somewhat. I'm not saying he was setting the world on fire, but he'd make points. He seemed reasonably intelligent, right? And a lot of the arguing back then was arguing with really some of the most insane bullshit lefty opinions you could ever imagine on trans issues and other shit like that. So oftentimes I'd get stuck on a panel and it'd be like me and 3 other conservatives that were like 2 trans dudes and a fucking, Bernie voter. And you're like, how are you conservative? Anyways, Connor seemed like a reasonable guy who obviously had disagreements with, but we got along fine. And then Connor went to work for Progressive Victory PAC, right? Progressive Victory PAC was, I think, somehow Brianna Wu was tasked with getting a straight edge Brianna Wu. Anyways, so Brianna Wu had some part in hiring a bunch of streamers, and including lower level streamers. And the goal of Progressive Victory PAC was, 1, to help Democrats win not just the presidency in 2022 or 2024, but also downstream races, and to make the Democrats more progressive. That was the idea, okay? So Connor, who is a conservative, goes to work for this group. Now, other people did as well, but they were already lefties, and okay, it sort of makes sense. Connor truly hates Trump, which is fine. He really despises Trump. But all of a sudden, Connor went from, talking about how corrupt Democrats were and how corrupt shit was under the Biden administration to just Trump, 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 Trump. Everything Trump. And he's doing these events. For example, he's doing in-person events, real life, like door knocking, etc., with people like Destiny were there. Vosh was connected to Progressive Victory PAC. Of course, brief aside, surprise, surprise, you want to know what the ladies that showed up to these in real life events at Progressive Victory PAC said? That they felt that they were being, marginalized or made to feel uncomfortable by the men there. Oh, who would have thought, right? Anyways, I debated Connor about this and was like, yeah, man, that's selling out. If you're a conservative intentionally getting paid by a group that not only wants Democrats to win, but make Democrats more progressive, the antithesis of conservatism, then you've sold out. And for what? How much money are you getting paid? Sounds like you sold out. Okay? So I called Connor out for this, and when I called him out, at one point his wife started messaging me on X publicly, not DMs, and basically accusing me of filleting Donald Trump. That was the big argument. That's always the argument. That's the big zinger that the lefties always have. Meanwhile, it's funny. I don't have to talk about the irony of this whole scandal starting because images of Destiny having sex, including blowing a guy, surfaced online. And then his orbiters are going to accuse me of blowing anyone. It seems a bit ironic, but anyways. So Connor's wife came in, and I said to Connor, after like several messages to me that Connor's wife was making, I basically was like, why are you so obsessed with me and like male genitalia? What's up with that? And then I talked to Connor, and Connor was like, we did a debate, and it started off cordial, and Connor was like, I was like, look, I just want to let you know, I'd never talk shit to your wife, but I mean, if she's going to come at me publicly, at some point I'm going to defend myself. And he's like, oh, I talked to her, no big deal. Great. And then we had a big blow up in the rest of that debate. And then, of course, I went on Sarah Tomato's channel one time because at this point, Connor's still working with Destiny. Destiny had made his comments not just about the Charlie Kirk, not just about Corey Compatore, the firefighter that lost his life, all the crazy shit. Also, he had said that all conservatives should fear for their lives to go in public. And so things change. And I was like, Connor, you're a fucking conservative. Your family's conservative. How could you work in partners and be buddies with a guy who's basically saying you and all of your family should fear for their lives? And then Connor threatened to kick my ass and said, when it was obvious that he was unhinged and he was losing the argument, he tried to make it seem like it was because of shit I'd said about his wife, which he had previously said he didn't have a problem with. Whatever. But I told Connor that he sold out, and I told him that he's getting in bed with someone like Destiny that's going to fuck him over at the end of the day. That's what's going to happen. I warned him. I said, that's what's going to happen. You're selling out for very little. And I even said, I was like, I don't even think it's the money with Connor. I think certainly that's part of it. But it was the community. He wanted to be in Destiny's community. He wanted to be friends with those people. Okay. No problem. That's what it was. And maybe it was because he thought that that would build his career up because he would get access to Destiny's audience. I've seen this dozens of times with Destiny. Whatever you think of Destiny, there is something unique about him that is appealing to thousands of people that watch. And emulating him or hoping if I just, I'll make it big if I'm sort of one of his orbiters, probably not. I mean, it worked for Vosh, it worked for Hassan. That's about it. So anyways, now Connor's getting a divorce, and I don't know what to say. Connor did a big video on it that's embarrassing. Suffice to leave it at that. Now we have this drama. This is so fucking stupid. What I'm talking about. Now we have this drama that comes out. So you have all these people that were like also left-wingers that started to attack Destiny because of his bad behavior with women and these alleged leaks and all this shit and whatever, right? Okay? So these are people like Jay Stock and Quiamon and all these other people, right? Chud Logic gets involved because Chud's always doing these drama streams, etc. There are accusations now going of doxing. So Destiny and his orbiters are claiming all of these anti-Destiny lefties, they call them the snarkers, apparently. They're doxing Destiny. They're doxing Destiny's friends. They're doxing Destiny's, baby mama and his son. They've swatted Destiny. The snarkers are like, Destiny is doxing us or doxing other people. Right? So like Destiny's doxing people. And it seems, I could be wrong, but it seems that Destiny's basically like, yeah, or I'm at least calling for people to dox people, but that's because it's defensive because you doxed me first. Herein lies the Destiny Connor drama. Connor basically goes to Destiny and it's basically making two arguments. The first is, hey man, some of these people that you're suggesting it would be okay to be doxxed, there's no proof they did anything really shitty. For example, there's this guy, Esports Batman. This guy apparently was just giving legal advice. He's a lawyer and was just like, well, here's what would be considered illegal. Here's what's legal. And Destiny, allegedly, I guess, according to this conversation with Connor, suggested this guy deserved to be doxxed. And Connor's like, why? That's no different than lawyers that come on your channel and give you advice. Should they be doxxed? And Destiny's sort of like, fuck you, and gets pissed. And then the other point that Connor's making is, you are a fucking degenerate. you're still doing crazy shit. So I'll show you a clip. Now, part of it's funny because Destiny's basically like implying that at one point Connor's like, Lauren Southern still liked you, and Destiny claims we're still dating, which Destiny's later backtracked. But one second. Give me a second. I'll bring this up. No. And Destiny claims, Connor, we kept that from you because you asked Lauren out, which it's all just fucking incestuous fucking. I don't mean literally incestuous. I mean, it's this bubble that everybody's just passing around. Lauren's supposed to be this fucking right-wing figure, right? We already know she slept with Destiny. The whole thing's just fucking gross. But I'll say this. Good on Connor for at least saying, like, Destiny, it looks like you're doing some fucked up shit, and I'm your friend. Like, what are you doing? And for that, Destiny burned Connor. It's like, fuck him. You're blacklisted. And now Connor finds himself in this position where he claims on his own video, I'm not speculating, he claims on his own video that some of the online politics shit led to his wife leaving him, or their separation, however that went. So imagine you intentionally get involved in this toxic fucking community. People that are, at least seemingly more on your political side are like, hey man, you're making a big fucking mistake. You're making a big fucking mistake here. But you go all in on it. You end up getting separated from your wife, and then a couple months later, the guy that you hung all your hopes on, Destiny, is fucking burning you because you were like, stop fucking everything with a pulse and stop doxing people. That's it. So here is one of the allegations that Connor sort of made to Destiny.
2nd of 2025. I said, Dearest Steven, I value our friendship and want to continue it, but you are a retard. A traditional Catholic man messaged me on Twitter saying that you had sexted his wife as recently as February. He wants to blow this up into drama. The wife wants it to stay quiet. His wife is actually a fan of mine and contacted me as well, saying she was on the rocks with her husband and that she was the initiator and voluntary participant in the sexting. However, she also said that you knew that she was married and a psychological mess and encouraged her to stop messaging. That being said, you guys continued. She mentioned that the messaging was quote-unquote spicy, and I inquired as to what that spice was and found out. You are, of course, retarded. Not just that, but she mentioned your ex-girlfriend, Leilana, found the messages and was angry with both of you. Her fear was that Leilana may have taken screenshots and may leak them out of revenge if this all blows up. She was arguing with her husband and in an argument admitted to the messages. The husband, as a traditional Catholic, his honor is insulted and he wants to destroy you. To my knowledge, he does not have copies of these messages. However, this brings me to our friendship. I think you are an intelligent, charismatic, funny, rhetorically gifted man, and I respect and admire you and your talents. However, I think you're a self-destructive, sexual degenerate retard who has to constantly test the loyalty of your friends. Conscious or not, you engage in indefensible behavior and look to see who sticks around. In my opinion, you walk the straight and narrow and then get bored every few months, so you blow everything up around to see who sticks around. It's a self-fulfilling cycle because while your cynicism tells you everyone will eventually betray you, you act in such a way that any sane person concerned with your reputation would betray you out of a sense of self-preservation. I sent that in November 22nd of 2025. Tell me how that is not exactly what has happened.
So that's the drama. And Destiny's like, fuck you. Basically, Destiny's argument to Connor is Connor's been talking with people that Destiny has on like his list of enemies, such as this guy Doobie. Doobie is like a VTuber type guy who has like a lizard avatar. It's so fucking silly. He's this VTuber guy that has this lizard avatar who runs the politics Discord server, which is the biggest Discord server for politics that exists, as far as I know. Apparently, the allegations are Doobie's very wealthy, and so he goes to other left wing channels, donates huge amounts of money, which makes it more likely for them to talk to Doobie. And then Destiny's argument is Doobie's involved in shady people that are doing shitty things to trying to ruin Destiny's life. So fuck Connor for even talking to these people. And so Connor's blacklisted. And this is the clip you saw the other day of Wick going, am I blacklisted too, Destiny? And Destiny was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it because people talk shit on me in your Discord. And so Wick was basically like, I'll make sure no one's allowed to talk about you in my Discord anymore unless you're on. So I don't know what to say. Everybody's been asking me about this drama. My thoughts on it are, I sort of respect Connor for at least trying to say, like, hey man, like there's fucked up shit you're doing. And I'm not going to support that fucked up shit. I support that. I think Connor, I'm no fan of Connor. I mean, again, the guy threatened to fight me over fucking debates online that he was going to, in real life, like, beat me up. Whoa! And he's been a total goof in many ways for a long time now, and he's sold out to work with the Progressive Victory PAC. His fucking video that he put up about his divorce is fucking, I don't know why anyone would volunteer the information he was volunteering, such as there were several yellow flags that became red flags, or am I going to enter my slutty phase? Let me tell you my experience. I mean, according to him, the divorce was in February. Somehow in between February and now, where we're at May, he was on dating apps and allegedly asking Lauren Southern out. I don't know. However, I feel terrible the man's getting divorced. And, I mean, I don't know what to say. Let me give another fucking public service announcement to any of you out there that think that you're like in good with you're a right winger or even a centrist, and you think that you're chummy or friendly with some of these left wing communities. You're not. They'll bury your ass. They'll fucking bury you. There was this guy, critically thinking veteran, very nice dude, good guy. And he was sort of like a good right winger, right? So when I would do these panels and he'd be on there, the lefties would always be like, Rob's a fucker, he's horrible, he's the fucking worst. Why can't he be a good Republican, like critically thinking veteran? Critically thinking veteran, he's a funny guy. Right? He'd be like, maybe we should just legalize marijuana. It might be that my washing machine started downstairs. And that was it. And he became friends, like, on Dylan Burns' server. He became, like, their unofficial co-host, you know? And then one day, he put out, you know how the pride flag's got, like, a triangle? Well, there was this meme going around where if you line up 4 pride flags in a certain way, it looks like a certain symbol from Germany in the 1940s, early 40s. And they buried him. They fucking buried him. And he was he was trying to be like, hey, aren't we friends? No, man. No. You're not. Now Connor finds the same lesson. Who knows? Maybe it'll work out. Maybe he could kiss Destiny's ass enough that he'll be welcomed back in with good graces. But you'll see. These motherfuckers, if you're on the left, right, and you're pissed off about, like, the Crucible community or robnoerr's community, like, we're like, you people suck at debating. Fuck you. You're a bullshitter. That's the harassment you get from my community. These fucking communities, like Destiny's community or Vosh's community or Hassan's community, they're out for blood. So that's it. So my feeling is, I guess, good on Connor. Wick went the other way. Wick went, whatever you say, Daddy Destiny. Got it. Connor stood firm and was like, hey, Now, could it be that there's more behind the scenes, that Connor's more of a shithead than it seems? Yeah. But for me, I don't give a fuck other than it's Jerry Springer-esque entertainment. That's what it is. All right. That's it. So that was a $5 super chat that I just spent $25 on. Let it not be said that I don't do audience interaction. And on Rumble, real quick, McCarrigo, $5 says, day shift. Hi, Rob. Let's go. The rain is fucked. Just south of the Mason-Dixon. Same weather here. Yeah, it sucks. Thanks for the 5. All right. We got 2 people in queue to call. We got Carrie and then Miggy. So we'll make sure we get to both of them. If you'd like to call in, the links are pinned in Rumble and in YouTube, so feel free to call in. Consider sending in some super chats if you like this type of show. And to anyone who does call, I just ask that you keep it TOS friendly. So no racial slurs, homophobic slurs, no calls to violence or any shit like that. Other than that, you can basically talk about whatever you want. That's it. Vita, $5 says, you think Connor was going through the divorce arc at the same time you were debating arguing with him? Maybe that's why he spoke out on you. I'd have to look it up. He claims that they separated in September. So I don't know when. I would say that timing's about right. Like, if I look this up. Wow. This video is titled, I confront Connor for selling out the Destiny. And if you see here, September 22nd, 2025. I don't know. I'll say this. I hope that, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I don't like Connor. Let me be clear. In fact, at one point, Connor's brother called into the show to talk about how damaging Connor was to the family. And I basically said, I don't want to talk about this because I think families should try to work things out. To any extent that I added fuel to the fire of maybe an argument between Connor and his wife, I truly hope that that's not the case. For real. And I will not be so arrogant as to think that I would have had some part in that. But I don't, I don't know. It's shitty. I don't wish divorce on anyone. Some guy I debated a bunch. So anyways, let's get to the calls. I won't yell at you all for super chat money until like 2 o'clock. Then I'll start yelling. So, all right. First up, we got Carrie. What's happening, Carrie? How you doing this fine morning? Or I guess afternoon for me.
Hey, it's been great just listening to you and narrating the drama.
Yeah.
I remember. I think the very first time I got to know you was when someone covered your debate, the 5-hour debate between you and Destiny, and you rage quit. Yeah, that was how I got to know you the very first time. And because I used to be so pissed off listening to debates online, it was just as if Destiny was this kind of how do you call it, a sacred cow. So after that, I realized, hey, this guy, I got to see that he had been flawed by so many people, and he had the same kind of tactics. And I think most leftists also work with that kind of tactics. They judge themselves the moral arbiters of truth. So because of that, there's no debate with them. They just take themselves, I am truth, I am truth. So they don't even want to listen to you. And they have this way too of having this appeal to authority, so they can always get out stats, even though they're false, but they use it cover up and they move. So, in a debate scene, especially online, like on TikTok and the rest, where they can easily mute you, they seem to be the guys with the facts. And you seem to be there, but it's okay. For Connor and the rest, and most people like him, I think the chicken's just coming home to roost. That's all I can say. He made his bed, so let him lie in it.
Yeah,
He made
that's
his bed.
that's and that's how I feel, and it's not in me. Like what I want, it's ironic. What I want is, I want to crush them in the culture war. I want to crush them politically, and you know what's funny? Their lives would be better for it. Like I'm not like the ideal society I'm envisioning isn't one where it's like these people are all locked up or not allowed to say anything. It's that they're mocked for their shitty opinions, and the country's doing much better. You know,
Yeah,
that's it. But I
yeah,
don't have it in me to really. I don't really wish like ill for people in their personal life. Obviously, there are exceptions. If you commit some heinous crime, absolutely you should go to prison. Like that's different. But as far as this stuff, so I'm not relishing in the fact that like Connor got a divorce. But I can say that like, look, if you're, especially if you're doing in real life events like with a bunch of people that are degenerates, like it's going to put pressure on a relationship. It is just by the very nature of it. And there's a reason that so many people in that community, it seems like, have these tumultuous relationships where they're always dating someone, or things are getting leaked, or messages, or pictures, or videos. And it's like, I don't know why, for Connor, it's a little different. I would have thought he's someone who at least claimed to be sort of conservative. He was around the same age as me. You're like, you're an old man with kids. You know, like it's like, what are you doing hanging out with these degenerates? I'm not, by the way, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying Connor did anything untoward, like of a sexual I don't know any of that. I'm just saying you invite that shit in. You invite drama in when you
yeah,
start to become
yeah,
friends with people
but
like
it
that.
boils down to the same thing. You remember, as a Christian, the Bible itself says, "What has light got to do with darkness?" That's first. So, kind of the company you keep thing. There's no way you would say you're conservative. The real truth about it is that most times, back in the days when you were conservative, you were most likely Christian. It was very, very improbable that you'd be conservative and not Christian. That's how it used to be.
Yep.
Right now, it's become watered in. We've allowed the LG HD TVs and the rest to come in and do this stuff. But that's the truth. So, because of that, we have a lot of these guys who don't have a moral anchor. They don't have any moral fixed position. They're just blowing wherever the wind blows.
That's
So,
exactly it. And I
yeah,
think that's that to me, that's the central point with Connor, right? I don't even think it was about money. I think with Connor, the point was he wanted a community, right? He wanted that community. And maybe the end goal was to get money, being part of that community. But I think he truly did want to be friends and in with that community. And what does morality mean in that community? Well, whatever your figureheads, whatever the people in your
yeah,
parasocial relationship, whatever the consensus is at the time. And so all of a sudden you can find yourself being like, now he's like, wait a minute. How could everyone in Destiny's community, like 90% of them, look at the current thing and say, it's okay to dox this guy just for giving legal advice? And
of
to
course.
Connor, it's like, this is so weird. But to me, I'm like, yeah, Connor, it was like when you were saying we have the moral responsibility to, quote, kill any fascist in power, knowing
Yeah,
that everyone you're hanging out with is calling the entire Trump administration fascist. Or when
true.
you're willing to work with a guy who said all conservatives should fear for their lives, knowing that that's you and your family.
Yeah,
Right? Like, it seemed that weird to me. Now, Connor's like, when he was in it and he was just allowing his morality to go wherever the wind blew, he was like, oh, fuck you, Rob. Fuck you, right wingers. Now that he, like, is outside of it for a moment, he's got to be like, this shit's crazy. This
yeah,
community's crazy. Yeah, no shit, man. That's what we tried to tell you. But
yeah.
you didn't have a moral anchoring.
It's
So,
just a long-winded "I told you so," like a delayed "I told you so," but true. Like whenever I look at these guys, I think what just comes to my mind is that I don't know. It's just my way of thinking, but my opinion. Let me give it that the disclaimer before Rob will be clipped and said a caller said it's my opinion that any person who calls himself conservative, right winger, Republican, and ends up doing a lot of stuff, ends up agreeing too much with the Dems currently. I don't think that person is any of the things. I think that person is just a covert leftist. I'm sorry to put it that way, but it's the truth. Because there's nothing, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, Rob, there's nothing that is going to make you and Brian Shapiro be on the same lane.
That's right. Well, here's the irony of this is I didn't even call myself a conservative. Like, I do call myself a conservative, but I've admitted there are people far more conservative than me, and
Sure.
I've said that, like, it's a label that I haven't thrown around too much about myself, but Connor did. He throws that label around, and this was, if you go back to the first discussion I had when he joined Progressive Victory Pack, I was like, they wanted the topic to be, is Connor really a Republican, or what is really a Republican? And I was like, I'm uninterested in that debate. Because Republican can mean, quite literally, whoever runs for office and wins as a Republican is a Republican. You could say a Republican's just a team. That to me is like saying, like, who is a New York Yankee? Well, whoever's on the team is a Yankee. If you get traded to the Red Sox, you're not a Yankee now. You're a Red Sox. You might be the same person with the same ideas. That's how I look at parties, right? It's like, I guess I could say what the party should be, but the idea of conservative, that means something. And if you're going to call yourself a conservative and you're intentionally getting paid by progressives to make the country more progressive, that doesn't sound conservative to me.
No.
And I don't care. It's not like that I'm gatekeeping that term, like where I'm like, I don't think you're conservative if you voted for the Iran war. I'm not doing that. I'm saying this isn't a fringe case. This is like literally the meat and potatoes. You're working for progressives to help progressives make the country more progressive. That doesn't sound conservative. And that's why he wanted to fight me. That's why he got so pissed off. Because what it shows to me is, like, if it was me, if I was in Connor's position, I'd be like, okay, so what? I don't give a shit. Now what? Sure, don't call me a conservative. I don't care. Call me whatever you want. But no, Connor got really angry to the point where he wanted to fight. And to me, that was the telltale sign. He knows he's full of shit. He knows he's selling out. He just, he has cognitive dissonance. And when he's approached with the facts of it, he gets angry because he doesn't know how to deal with it. So
because that's the truth. Because that's the truth.
Yes.
Most of them hate being confronted with the truth. So when you see the anger and everything, it's just an emotional reaction to the thing that's right inside of them. They know. Yeah. Because, and by the way, I normally have my list that says a tier list. There are 3 people I can never trust. A Christian who has become an atheist, a conservative who has become liberal.
Yep.
And then a normal guy who's become a feminist. I don't trust any of them.
Yeah,
same.
And it's so, look, and here's the thing. There was this guy, I don't know if you know who Hunter Avalon is, younger guy. He went through this arc where he was like, oh, it's Trump MAGA guy, and then all of a sudden he became super liberal.
Yeah, he and the Amazing Lucas. I don't know if you've heard about the Amazing Lucas. The black guy, now he's claiming black Israelite or black whatever they call themselves. Yeah. Yeah, Hunter. Yeah.
So Hunter, it shows that it really is easy. If let's say tomorrow, let's say I set this up and I was like, there's this guy X-phobic in my chat. And X-phobic, he's not a big fan of the people from Israel, right? He sort of seems to be a fan of Nick Fuentes, right? He's been nothing but polite and kind. We've disagreed, but let's say that I wanted to set this up, and I said, I had this conversation with this guy X-phobic, and he's connected to the Groypers, and now the Groypers, they did all this horrible shit to me, and I realized my mistake, and I'm really a left-winger, and it turns out Trump's the worst, and it turns out that, like, all these right-wingers are the worst, and yay, Democrats, and I'm going all in on Kamala 2028. My viewership would skyrocket, because all these people on the left would use that and go, oh, look at this. Rob was one of the biggest people that talked about Trump and Republicans, and now that's sort of what Hunter Avalon did. And yeah, it gets you a lot of clicks. The problem is it's temporary and you're selling out and you're a shell of yourself and eventually people will lose interest, right? And so it's like, I get it. I get why people want to do this for clicks or for money or for a community that they think that they'll like, but it's not worth it in the end. It'll eat your ass alive. And this is the problem with the left, the world over at this point. Yeah. The moderate left is quickly becoming just the new right. Because there is no moderate left anymore. No. Because the extreme left that controls it forces the moderates out.
Yeah.
Joe,
And they keep going more extreme
of
every
course.
single day. Like they get to the most extremes of positions. Like I just saw your debate with the porn lady or
Yeah,
whatever.
guy, lady,
Gosh,
yeah.
gosh, that was so nauseating. I can't. But that's how they are. If you let them follow everything to the absolute conclusion, it ends up with the most disgusting thing you can ever imagine.
There's nothing like there's no limiting principles on any of this. And so
No.
like you'll hear them say all the time, you know what the left needs? We need the left wing Joe Rogan. And it's like you had the left wing Joe Rogan. His name was Joe
Joe
Rogan.
Rogan,
You
yeah.
had him. And you guys are so
You
insane.
had Trump.
Yes,
You
that's
had
right. They had
Reagan.
Trump. They had these people, and it's like they just keep going further and further. And so what happens is, and I try to tell people this, it's something that when I talk to young people, like as part of the Republicans in Pennsylvania, it's something I tell them all the time. I'm like, listen, the problem is it's intoxicating to be part of the in group that gets to declare moral judgments on other people but not have
Yeah.
them on yourself. That's
Yeah.
intoxicating. Like go back and look at the Bolsheviks, right?
Yeah.
Being a member of the party has its advantages. The
True.
problem is, as soon as you step out of line for 1 second, they're going to come at
Oof.
you harder than they ever came at a dude like me
Yeah.
because you're going to be an enemy from within. And so it's like you'll never be able to keep up with the insanity. Eventually it'll eat you. And
Sure.
and it'll even if it doesn't eat you in life, it'll eat you in death.
Yeah.
Like I think it's so funny watching all of the left wingers like point to, oh, this music, it's conservative. Oh, this is evil. It's transphobic, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, what do you think's going to happen to all these rappers that were like big Obama bros like Jay-Z when they die? And all of a sudden the radical left starts looking at their lyrics and he's like, wow, you're a misogynist. You hate
Yeah.
women, Jay-Z. And it's like, I don't see how, out of just pure self preservation, why more people don't say, like, yeah, I'm not going to enter these communities or be friends with them. If right now, if you're looking at this, right, let's say you're a 19-year-old kid, maybe you're good at politics, you're a left winger, and you're starting to debate. Are you going to like try to cozy up with Destiny's community, knowing that the first time you have an argument, these people are going to try to bury you?
The
Who
very-
wants to enter that?
Nope.
And it to me, it's just like,
No.
when you have Destiny's mod that's calling in to talk to Destiny, he's like, your community's now giving off real school shooter vibes. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
And the
It's
pretenders. And they're the biggest pretenders you can be. Like, I still do not believe that they believe 100, 1,000 of most of the things they spew out. I don't believe they believe in them. I don't think they do. That's my opinion. I don't know, but I don't think they believe in them because it's so sometimes it's so toxic for me to believe that they believe in those things. Because take for instance, do you really think that Brian Shapiro believes a lot of the things he says?
Yeah. Some of them convince themselves. I don't think Brian does. Some of them are smart enough to know when they're full of shit. But it's a difficult. It's like this. The debate I hated the most for a long time was this debate that it came up all over the place, but really Russiagate was where I would see it all the time.
Yeah.
And so you'd point out like all of the crazy shit that the FBI did against Trump and the Trump administration, right? And basically, the argument from the left would be this. Oh, that wasn't corruption. That was just incompetence.
Yeah.
So the FBI didn't know that you're not supposed to delete evidence and then change it to say the opposite of what it said. So if they're investigating you, Kerry, and it says, we looked into Kerry and it turns out he actually had no connection with that robbery, to delete that evidence and change it to, actually, Kerry did have connections to the robbery. And when you're like, wow, that is as corrupt as it comes, and the left's argument is, nah, that's just incompetence.
Yeah.
Incompetence. And so, like, it's obviously full of shit most of the time, but my
They
argument
know.
was always like, so what? That's worse.
Yeah.
If that's the quality of our FBI, at least a corrupt man you can count on if you know where the corruption's coming from.
Yeah.
An incompetent man that's so incompetent, the head of one of the top lawyers at the FBI didn't know that you're not supposed to change evidence and say the opposite of the truth. He just didn't know it. That's worse. If that's the people that are the premier law enforcement agents in this country. And so now it's like this, it's the same question now. The like, well, do these lefties believe the bullshit?
No,
Or are
they
they just faking it? And at the end of the day, it's like, it's irrelevant to me.
No, they don't,
Because if
and
they,
they're pretenders. They
Yeah.
don't, and they're pretenders. Everything they say, like I really, if you look at it, okay, take for instance, news just broke out, like here in Spain, some days ago, 3 Canadian off-duty police officers were accused of like assaulting a sex worker while on holiday here in Spain. Remember when we're talking about countries that like carry feminism, women empowerment on their head, it should be Canada. So how come? So I don't believe that. I think they're all pretenders. That's why Destiny has all these cases. Because Destiny, in one hand, is a feminist, but on the other hand, and I'm even scared of Brian Shapiro. I still have a belief that I just pray we don't get to see his hard drive one day. Because I'm having a feeling he might also have a lot of issues. Yeah. Look at all of them. Look at all of them. Take them one by one. Harvey Weinstein was the biggest feminist, wasn't he?
Yep.
Same with
all
same
these
with Bill
people.
Cosby, same with all these guys, and then today we're hearing all we're hearing. So I don't trust them.
I'm with you 100%. Well, hey man, thank you as always,
Rob,
Carrie.
it's 7:10. Let me let you go.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure though. Thanks so much.
All right.
We'll
take
talk
care.
soon.
Bye. All right. Bye.
It is tough. Like I see DPT says, no, Brian absolutely believes this BS. Really? I believe he believes significant portions of it. But do you think Brian, for example, believes that family that he was interviewing was unfairly targeted? Do you think he believes that? Or do you think he knows? He knows they assaulted Sarah Fields. He knows it. You think he doesn't know? What, you think Destiny didn't know that he was fucking full of shit with those court cases when he called in the other day and he's running around everywhere saying, Ryan didn't read the court case like me. He knows. So it's a mix. Gary's a good guy. Appreciate the call. All right, some super chats. Copycat, dude. $5. Thank you. Chronicle Lives Matter. Another 5 says, Lore Master Rob, thoughts on Hassan? Appreciate you. We're going to talk about Hassan more this evening. But in general, I mean, I just think it's hilarious. Hassan basically gets a subpoena. He's not even being indicted yet, just a subpoena. And he's already just starts spilling names. Andrew Branca has been all over this, who I really like, and it's someone you should follow. But in general, we'll just play this clip. Find this. I think it's funny that you see people that some that I respect. It's like, well, we shouldn't cheer for Hassan because what if they come for right-wing speakers? Blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, they did that. Alex Jones. How many of the January 6th people were locked up? So here's Hassan just naming names. He may not like the law, but it is the law. They would certainly go after a right-winger. Remember when Paul Manafort was locked up for failing to register as a foreign lobbyist? Why not Hassan when he's announcing the evidence on stream? Here he is yesterday.
I think that ultimately the target is probably Singham and his operation from PSL to Answer Coalition to Co-Pink, like anything that he has ever financed. And it's not new. It's been around for a while, but it's obviously it's held through regardless because like it's ridiculous, right? It's like totally fucking ridiculous to try and you know to try and stop like the political advocacy of an American citizen. Right, Roy Singham is a American citizen. He lives in China now, and he's a centimillionaire. I think he like has almost $1 billion. Not sure how much money he has now, but like he's been a funding vehicle for a lot of like political movements in the country, like a lot of activism, and they hate that shit. Like the American government hates that shit, so they're trying to jam him up, you know. They're trying to hit him on anything and everything they possibly can.
I mean, the dude's spilling the beans. And he hasn't even faced an indictment. Just a subpoena. Make no mistake, Hassan will not be able to handle any prison time. That guy's gonna fucking squeal on everyone. He's already squealing. Yes, Trump was taken off social media. So, hey, if Hassan broke the law, and it seems like he's given the own evidence that he has, we went with it the other day. His own posts online have shown that he's broke the law. He understood the law. He intended to break the law. He intended to go back and break the law again, this time even worse. His words on his streams. So, that's Birdie the dog, $10. Great show. I'd call in, but I'm busy making the man. Richard, I hate the man. Hope you and everyone are having a good day. I am. I'm having a good day. I certainly am. All right. Remember, the link is at the top and the bottom if you'd like to call in. Still plenty of time. We'll go till 2:30. So plenty of time for you all to call in. And remember, send in super chats as well. If this is the type of show that you like, and I do like doing this show, remember, try to send some support. If you can't, that's perfectly fine. I'm still going to stream. But I try to adjust the streams to things that get more interest and support. So, and if you're watching and you're a lefty and hates me, or you're more right-wing than me and hate me and want to disagree with me, feel free to call in. I think I'll be fair about giving you a shot. I think I have a good reputation for that. I'm sorry, it's come to this, Space Ace. We got to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Space Ace. We got to let you go, dude. Anyways, so feel free to call in if you like. All right, next up. Sid Vicious, I wish. Next up, we got the great Miggy. Speaking of weather, Miggy's always got. I'm just like, it's raining. Miggy's like, I'm chasing tornadoes throughout the country. How you doing today, Miggy? Can you hear me? Miggy!
It's probably.
Oh, there he is. What's up, man?
Yeah, it's probably might be ridiculous again.
It sounds way better than it used to, but what's on your mind today, man? How's it been?
Well, seeing that the fact that John Cornyn got blown out in the primary, It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
Like 27%, I think he lost by, which is crazy.
And now they're seeing political articles saying that, James Talarico is going to win this Texas Senate race. He has a +4 advantage against Ken Paxton. I'm like, where the right mind did he begin the methodology from? Because I don't really see that happening. It might be close, but I don't see that happening.
It's very similar to, you remember when Beto was going to be the man? This young, up-and-coming white guy that was cool and hip, and then he just fell on his face. I think that Talarico's the type of guy, he has the image of what Democrats are looking for. Young, white guy, claims to be Christian, claims to be a pastor. All of that's good, right? That's inroads. The problem is they can't find anyone like that that's not a complete and total psychopath, like Graham Plattner. Like Graham Plattner, it's like, it's fucking blue-collar guy, works like harvesting like seafood and shit, like a real man's man. Also happens to be a Nazi and celebrates the murder of fellow.
He has the SS tattoo on him, the skull symbol on it.
Yeah,
that's the elite officers from the Third Reich. But it's I think it's a great moment for the American coalition that a lot of these old guards are finally coming down one by one. I was like, yep, another neocon bites the dust.
Yeah, what gets me is, and don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stuff to criticize Trump for, but the people that are super black-pilled, if you take a step back and you just look at the landscape, like, there's a lot of these old guard Republicans that are just losing their shit, and they're losing their stranglehold on power, and that makes it more likely, even if you don't like Trump, that someone comes that's not in that 30-year history of, this is it. It's just going to be, someone in our line of secession. We're going to go from, Bush to W. Bush to Romney to Jeb Bush, right? Like that, since the
That
90s.
legacy is gone.
Right.
They burned that shit a long time ago when they have betrayed us in every way possible. We really started with second term Reagan. Second term Reagan was the start of neoconservatism, which basically betrayed everything that was conservative, from mass amnesty, pharmaceuticals gaining power, gun control laws, the law expanding government, endless wars that basically trying to push for Francis Fukuyama's liberal democracy that never was going to work on cultures that never cared about democracy in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, it was just all bullshit. The neoconservative has completely burned their reputation to the ground, and they're still trying every way to basically stop Trump. And
just to highlight this point, like, just so people understand this, let me just throw a couple facts at you, right? Since 2012, I believe it was, no senator that decided to rerun has lost their primary. That's Republican or Democrat. So if you've decided that you're going to run again, you may lose the general, but you didn't lose the primary, right? Until Cornyn and I think Collins, right?
And Cassidy.
Or Cassidy, that's what I meant. Cassidy, not Collins, right? So 2 in 10 days, right? Second, the GOP spent $100 million to get Cornyn to win the primary, and he lost by 29%. He barely lost. He massively outspent his opponent. The entire GOP establishment was behind him. They never lose the primaries if they decide to run again, and he lost by damn near 30%. If that's not a repudiation of what the Republican voter at this point think of the old guard Republicans, particularly those in the Senate, I don't know what is. And so the idea of blackpilling where it's like, oh, nothing ever works. Nothing, there's no sense. Yeah, he outspent Paxton 9-1. There's no sense even trying in these primaries, vote Democrat or just blackpill and stop voting. I don't think that's the way to go at all. I think that what this shows, if nothing else, is that you actually have an ability, if you have a successful message that's popular with the people and someone competent that's running that's your candidate, and you have good people that are helping with the ground game and sort of financing, I think we actually can see these people removed, and we're seeing it in real time.
Yeah, I think it gives us quite a bit of light, given the fact that for a long time we just felt like we had no say. We felt powerless. Now with these primaries, they're showing that all these old guys, like, this is a straight track record. Trump has not lost any of his candidates. Like, all of his candidates that he backed won their primaries, either by small to big margins. It's pretty much a track record, clean. Like, now like 48-0 now, which is insane. And it goes to show that people are just tired of the old guard.
And here's the thing. It used to say this and it was kind of laughable, right? Because it would be like, Trump would be like, oh, I'm going to endorse Glenn Thompson. He's my, congressman. No one's going to run against Glenn. Glenn's going to win running away, right? But that would put one on the board for Trump's endorsement wins, right? Yeah, okay. But what's unique here is we're talking about, like, if you just said, what are the chances that John Cornyn would lose his primary? If you said that a year ago, you'd be like, does he have cancer? Is there some scandal really breaking of him? No. Then no. I think he's runaway going to win, right? So it's not as if Trump just took someone that, absolutely is going to win. Paxton when he first started running, would have been an outside shot. As it went, I think that there is a lesson to take about Trump supporting people and endorsing. I do. But I think that there's a bigger lesson, which is that the agenda that Trump claims to support is popular. The immigration agenda, the fighting back against the swamp. Ken Paxton represents that. And so even if Trump hadn't endorsed Paxton, I think Paxton would have won. It would have been way closer, but I think he would have won. Now, if Trump would have endorsed Cornyn, I think Cornyn would have won. But as it is, the two lessons to take are not just how much it's still Trump's party, but also how that message is popular, even without Trump, because Trump's going to be gone in 2028. And look, I wish Trump a long, happy life. But, a man now who's approaching, how old is he? Is he 80 yet? Or is he just
He's going to be 80. He's going to be 80 on June 14th.
Yeah.
So I say I give him another 5 to 10 years, maybe, before he probably just passes away.
Well, either passes away or he just gets to the point where he can't. he's going to lose his step where it's like he's not as influential. He's not right. So what's it going to look like after that? What's the direct? And I think that this shows a good example of what it's going to look like. You're going to see people that are sort of filling that spot that are going to be like, fuck these Republicans that do nothing in the Senate. And at the end of the day, I don't know. The biggest loser wasn't John Cornyn. The biggest loser's Thune. How he's not looking at this saying, like, the entire country fucking hates me. The Democrats obviously hate him. And the Republicans are like, what the fuck are you doing? How can you not bring these 80-20 issues to a vote? How can you even bring them to a vote?
And to put in perspective, John Cornyn was actually second in line to be the Senate leader. It was between John Thune, John Cornyn, and Rick Scott. I mean, preferably it would have been Rick Scott for everybody, but they decided to choose John Thune instead, which I was really, really pissed off about from the beginning. Like, this guy did not give a shit about conservative values. He's just one of those other neocons. And we see it right in front of us. Like, he's trying to push the same thing like Mitch McConnell was doing back in the early 2020s and trying to make sure his old wing stays in power by sabotaging every Trump-backed candidate or so, which he did back in 2022. But now it's not the case anymore. That time has long gone. Their time is up. And John Thune is on the clock. His primary is in 2028, so he'll get on the clock too.
Yeah, he'll get crushed if it was today, unless something changes. I'll read this. See, I found this interesting. Here, we'll do this. This is Benny Johnson wrote this, and I thought this was pretty spot on. He says, fun story. More than any other senator, Rhino Lisa Murkowski killed the SAVE Act, which I believe to be the case. I believe there's 6 or 7 of them, but I believe Murkowski is the most vocal that hates the SAVE Act. He says, I'm constantly hearing from GOP sources how Murkowski screams and rants and raves against voter ID. She threatened to go independent over it. Thune is terrified of her. But why is Murkowski even a senator in the first place? She lost the Alaska Republican primary in a landslide in a 2010 election to the Tea Party candidate Joe Miller. John Cornyn and GOP Senate leaders stepped in to save her. They poured millions of dollars into a shady write-in campaign that gathered thousands of illegitimate votes to drag Murkowski over the line on Election Day. Now Cornyn has lost his seat because Murkowski refused to back the SAVE Act. Betraying your base will always destroy you in the end. A reminder that GOP Senate leaders hate the Republican base more than anything on earth and would rather lose their seats than serve the will of the voters. That's absolutely true.
And speaking of which, Murkowski did have what they call that ranked choice, multiple voting in Alaska, and she still won because Mitch McConnell poured in close to about $20 million into a race. It was a Republican versus Republican race. Lisa Murkowski versus Chewbacca, which was a Trump-backed candidate. She barely scraped by with that win, so she's not up for re-election to 2028 as well. I mean, in 2028, there's a chance that we might end up dethroning both John Thune and Lisa Murkowski. And Susan Collins is up for her election this November, and the chances are Graham might even win that election, or she might just get lucky and still win because she has been getting very lucky winning her elections, despite the fact that trends are not looking in her favor.
Well, for me, the thing is this: like Murkowski in Alaska is one thing. Collins is different, right? Like if you're from a purple state, you have to understand that the Republican that's going to come out of there with a chance to win probably is going to believe a lot of shit that we don't believe. And so I'm willing to give leeway. Cornyn, though, represents the exact wrong or the exact problem that we should be solving. The problem is in the deepest red states, we elect the shittiest purple Republicans that don't give a fuck about their base. That's the real problem. And the other problem is, like, you have to understand, in our current climate, there's going to be 4 or 5 Republican senators that aren't going to go along with the main message. So you need to overcome that by having enough senators that you can afford to lose a handful and still be able to get shit passed. The problem is all of the black pill people that are like, no, vote Democrat, they ensure that can't happen. Because either Democrats are in control, which means we can't get anything done, or Republicans just have a narrow margin, which means that the big things that are, quote, controversial that the America First type people want, like border security, voter ID, etc., is never going to get passed. And so it's always odd to me that, like, they blame Trump for things like that not getting passed, and then their solution is, so then let's not work on getting good people in the primaries and winning more races. Let's black pill and don't vote or vote Democrat. And it's like, but that's the exact opposite opinion to take here. So
Yeah. Well, the next topic I want to talk about is, with a little bit of the Hassan Piker that he basically named the name Neville Stingham.
yeah,
Well, I'm not really sure if your audience really know about Neville Stingham. He's the multi-millionaire. I think he's almost damn near billionaire status. I think he was originally from South America, became an American citizen, and he lives in China, in Shanghai, China. And he funds a lot of the left wing organizations like Code Pink. In fact, he was actually the main financial driver to Karen Bass, her election, and he is also the driver of financing the No King riots from last year, the Tesla riots, the Tesla firebombs that occurred, and pretty much all these different organizations like they call it the Trans Antifa organization. Like he's like the puppet master, the financier of those organizations. Not just George Soros, he's one of the other ones. And the trouble is, what we can do, which Scott Besson is looking into it, is to try to sanction some of his bank accounts from America. But we can't do much about it when it comes to Chinese, because obviously, if you try to mess around with the Chinese, trying hold them accountable, we might end up starting conflict, and that's why he's even over there, because he knows that China will protect him, and China will basically unleash hell on the United States if we try anything more directly towards him. It's the same reason why when the Obama administration was pissed off because of Edward Snowden, he went to Russia. When Obama can't do shit because Russia has 6,000 nukes that can just launch at any moment. So there's nothing we can do about it.
totally agree. And Hassan naming, someone said all of this shit was public. That's true. It was public information. But Hassan coming out and immediately going there lets you know that that's who Hassan had connections to when he was making this trip to Cuba. And it's a big mistake, by the way, to ever attach yourself to Hassan in this way, because he's a fucking idiot. He's announcing all this shit publicly, and it's like that. One of the things that's so frustrating when it comes to all this corruption now, it's just beneath the surface. It's the most obvious bullshit lies. I'll just give you one little example. You remember when James O'Keefe went around to all of these Act Blue donors, and he'd go into some trailer park, and you'd find some 75-year-old lady that, no offense, but looking from our house, probably didn't have tens of thousands to be sending to a political campaign. And he'd be like, did you ever donate to Act Blue? And, I think maybe $5 or $10. Okay, have you donated 733 individual donations in the past year in the amounts of $100 a piece? No, I don't have that sort of money. There it is. But there's this thin veneer of well, as long as you can lie, as long as you're just you got to do the smallest amount of investigating, then nothing will ever get done. Hassan's so fucking stupid, he's going public yeah, I was forced to stay at this hotel. No, you dumb shit. That's literally the one hotel you weren't allowed to stay at. Yeah, I was talking to, Cuban officials and blah, 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 and we were giving them our money. It's you stupid shit. That's the letter of the law.
Funny? You want to know what's funny? So Hassan Piker reminds me a lot about. I don't know if you heard this. It was a rapper that was viral back in 2018. It was Tekashi 6ix9ine. The one with the rainbow colored hair and the face tattoos. He was originally from Bushwick. My mom grew up there, and he got arrested in 2019. And he ratted out the gang that he was part of, the 9 Treyway Bloods. He ratted every one of them out. When it comes to charges like gun trafficking, drug trafficking, assault, and all this other wild stuff they have done. He ratted them all out just so he have a shorter sentence. And this is what Hassan Piker is. He wants to do gangster talk, talking all this hot shit on his live stream, saying that America does 9/11, to commit egregious acts against people who are business owners, make them blood spill on the streets, whatever. That's what he does all day on Twitch. He talks shit, and then when the music stops and the real shit hits the fan, that's when he squeals like a bitch. And that's pretty much what 6ix9ine did in 2019. This is why you don't talk shit. You never want to engage in something like that if he can't handle the heat. And
Well,
now he can't handle the heat.
yeah, that's exactly it. It's what pisses me off about, like, when I was talking to Wick there a few months ago, and he was like, all of you have a moral obligation to go lie to ICE and get arrested. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You'd be the first motherfucker squealing like a baby if the arrest came for you. That's Hassan, right? They tell all these other oh, what a badass revolutionary as he's wearing his Cartier glasses and fucking walking around with his $10,000 outfits, talking about Workers' Party changed the world, etc., etc. And then the fucking guy squeals like a bitch as soon as he gets a subpoena, not even an indictment. And that's the truth. All these people are fucking fake. You even see it like it. They create this fiction, this LARPing, and they're right most of the time that there's no consequences. But when the smallest amount of consequence happens, they're shocked. You see it in every ICE riot, right? Where when finally like the one person gets pepper sprayed or hit with a club, they're like, "What the fuck?" And I almost sympathize with them because they're right. There never is consequences. Why shouldn't I be allowed to blatantly go violate the law? I told people, I said, one of the worst, the whole FARA thing under Manafort, this idea, I was like, this is so fucking shitty because one of the biggest, like, known secrets in Washington is how many people, lawyers and others, actually cooperate and do things to the benefit of foreign governments and foreign powers without registering. And I was like, but hey, if that's going to be the rules, if we're going to go after Trump people for that, let's go after Hunter Biden. Let's go after Democrats for that. And Democrats, we'll never face the consequences on what we're suggesting you. Okay, motherfucker, here you go. And then watch them go, this is outrageous. Why won't someone step up for me? This is what you fucking wanted. Did Hassan speak up? I saw Nick Fuentes say this the other day. Did Hassan or Cenk or any of them speak up when so many people that went to the Unite the Right rally got censored, got debanked? Did they speak up? No. They didn't say a fucking word. They did not give a shit. In fact, not only did they not say a word, to the opposite. They said, good. Fuck these people. Okay, that's the rules then. Once you say, we're not suggesting that the law be broken or anything like that. Did Hassan violate the law? Okay, charge the motherfucker. I don't want to hear, but this is chilling for speech. These motherfuckers celebrated in tandem when Alex Jones was basically sued off the planet. Aha, good, funny. I said, don't you see the issue here? That eventually other people that make their living doing this shit are going to be targeted by, attorneys, legal system, etc. And it's going to silence. That's okay. It's great. Okay. Enjoy. Sowing's fun. Reaping, not so much. So here we go. So fuck the guy. I hope they throw the book at him. I really do. And I think the guy will squeal like a little bitch, and we may end up getting actual financiers that are foreigners that are financing some of these most hostile things, such as riots that we see, the attorney generals that are letting people out early, etc. So.
Yeah, I do say this. Like when it comes to the financiers, I think there is a way you can still try to hold Neville accountable for his seditious conspiracy of inciting riots throughout the funding riots. Like I say, there's ways we can hit financial accounts. At least that's within the United States. But when it comes to international wise, that's gonna be a little bit of a harder thing. But Trump tried this with one of the UN workers, and we sanctioned this UN worker, and of course the courts basically put an injunction early, just about last week. She was basically giving cover for Hamas, because the thing is, the UN has basically been hijacked. A lot of these organizations, financial organizations, the IMF, have been hijacked by foreign adversaries, the Islamists and the Chinese. So they basically hold a lot of the power now over the Western institutions. This is an uphill battle that I think this is one of the reasons why it's so hard to do investigations. It's because our adversaries fund these left-wing groups to basically destroy America within, and not only that, our adversaries also owns Western institutions, our global institutions. So trying to hold people accountable for all the things they have done, it's much harder on the other side than it was, when it comes to the J6s. The J6s were easy because we don't hold any power. We don't hold any global power.
Right. Well, that's just it. And that's why the rules, like, again, to me, at the end of the day, I have my opinions on what should the law be ethically, what should we allow or condemn. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the important thing is that we have a system that's not two-tiered. And if we're going to say, look, failing to register as a foreign lobbyist, big deal when it comes to people connected to Trump, okay, fine. I disagree. I don't necessarily think it should be that big of a deal, but that's fine. Let's apply that to everyone, despite their political persuasion, right? Fair enough. If we're going to say Trump overvalued his home when he tried to get a loan, okay, let's do that with all people, including Democrats, right? Fair enough. If we're going to say Trump's 37-time felon because he mismarked a lawyer payment as he mismarked a campaign payment as a lawyer payment, fine. Let's do the same with all campaigns. You know, if we're going to go after Alex Jones for misinformation and sue him for $1 billion, fine. Let's go after all content creators. Okay. How many creators have called Trump a PDF? Should they all be sued into oblivion? Right? Billions of dollars? Should they? You know, so the entire thing, that's my position on this. So I feel that this shit won't end until the very people that wish this shit upon you suffer the very consequences that they wish upon yourself. And so, hey, it's a game Hassan played. Hassan said some of the worst shit. So, you know. That's how I feel.
This is why
I'll give you the last word, then I got to get to other callers, but go ahead.
All right. Well, this is why it's so important never to be black-pilled and just say vote Democrat, because we have to be able to at least try to take back the institutions, because our institutions have been hijacked for almost a century by left-wing institutions who are pretty much in bed with our adversaries. The red being alliance, the red being communists, and the green being Islamists. This is what we are facing, and like just giving up now because we're not getting everything we want right now. It's a big mistake. We have to play the long game. You have to be patient. You gotta have to make effort. Small sacrifices, like make small steps here and there to where we are trying to achieve our goal. To if we just give up now and throw the baby out with the bathwater, we'll just get crushed. And we'll never be able to have this chance again. Trump gave us this chance, and we're not gonna be. We're all just trying to blow it away because we're not getting what we want. Trump is not gonna be able to do everything by himself. It's all up to all of us to make the effort to do it, to also make the changes too. It takes all of us. They always say it takes a village to raise a child. That's basically what it is. We have to do it. That's just my opinion. Not one step back. And have a great day.
Thanks, Maggie. I always appreciate it, man. You have a good one. So, all right. Thanks so much, everyone, for your support. Consider getting super chats in. Yada, yada, yada. Let's get to our next caller. The great Zach Gelpy. What's happening today, Zach? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I can't complain. I'm doing great. I'm getting a little better. I think I have allergies or something, but since I've been streaming, I'm feeling better,
Well, that's good. That's good. Keeping busy always takes your mind off of what you're feeling. So, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of your last conversation. The important thing that folks have to realize is how important, and I know I say this pretty much every time, but how important it is to primary these I would argue center left Republicans in these ruby red states.
Yep.
That's really where the problem lies. And people have to realize it's all well and good having the executive, but his power is very limited. It really lies with the legislative branch. And that's where the main focus should be, is with the legislative branch. That's where the power is. And we focus on the shiny things, the presidency or the governor or whatever, but really where we need to focus most of our efforts, and this is where the left focuses a lot of their efforts, is in the legislative branch. And you have to have the threat to these people. If you go against our agenda, you're going to get primaried. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Trump. Trump is the I don't know if he's been trained or his people have been trained. I know La Sabita a little bit. I've interacted with him a few times in Virginia, where he works primarily. His consultant for his last run, but his advisors seem to follow the confrontational political model, and I think that really comes from Stephen Miller. To be honest with you, he was a protege of the late great what's his name? The guy who started Front Page Mag. Horowitz, David Horowitz.
Yes, David Horowitz, yes.
Who has written a lot about how to fight against the left, and he says use their tactics against them. And David Horowitz was a communist. He started as a communist. He started. He was the editor-in-chief and I think the founder of Ramparts magazine. And then he saw what the left, and he grew up, his parents were communists, and he grew up as a communist. And then he saw what communism actually does when his friend got killed by the Black Panther Party, and turned a 180 and became one of the most successful or thought leaders in the conservative movement. But the problem is no one's really heeding his advice. That's the problem. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, first off, the Cornyn thing's a great example of how this is doable, and it's actually starting to happen. Right. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree with that. The last part you cut out there, a little heeding Horowitz's advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there's a good sign that people are starting to heed that advice when they're putting pressure on, like Paxton did, clearly, mm-hmm. and the people that supported Paxton did. And I think you're seeing that around the country, and you're going to see that more. I think that Trump's in a difficult position. I think that Trump understands that there's only so much you could do in the executive without a legislator behind you. And so Trump does some things, but he also, unfortunately, knows that he has to throw a bone every once in a while to these people who probably someone like me and you wouldn't like a lot of what their agenda is. And so he knows that he needs them, though. The problem is, I think that those people sort of called Trump's bluff in the first term to a large degree, and they assumed it would be more of the same. Yeah, Mr. Trump, we'll get around to SAVE Act. Yeah, we'll get around to the parliamentarian. Yeah, we'll get around to blue slips. And then they just do nothing. And then come election time, they're like, oh, Mr. President, worst thing could happen is you not to endorse us, and some outsider in the primary, they'll have less of a chance to beat this horrible person like Tallarico. So you got to, go back to us, endorse us. We'll get to what you're doing. And people are starting to call the bluff. Paxton calls the bluff. Trump calls the bluff eventually by endorsing Paxton, granted at a late hour. And I think that you're going to see that this is the way going forward. I'm hoping that you see more and more that people are going to realize, like, wow, my individual senator sucks ass. My individual congressman sucks. I'm going to run. And I've talked to you about this, Zach. It's so weird because I'm someone who, I did pretty good at debate and I'm pretty well spoken, etc. But when I ran for Congress in 2019, I was intimidated because there was like 25 people that were running because it was a special election. And I knew that almost around 18 of them were serious. Like they were politicians at the state level. So that in my state of Pennsylvania, they were in Harrisburg. So they were congressmen or senators in Harrisburg. And they'd been in politics for a long, long time. I had no connections to anyone at all. I didn't know anyone other than my county Republicans who didn't want anything to do with me because I told them I was going to run for office. And they didn't like that. So anyways, I walked in and I was like, these are going to be people that you go in and they're going to be like, they're going to know the Constitution like the back of their hand. And they're going to have all these policy prescriptions well thought out. And it's just like, they know how the levers are going. They were terrible. Yeah. They were horrible. I went in and I started talking about the 10th Amendment. And my wife was like, she was in the crowd. She's like, you could see they were all on their phones looking up what the 10th Amendment was. Like, and they didn't have anything. Like, every time I talked, I sounded like a fucking, like, compared to them, like a nerd. Like, because I actually knew some things about the Constitution. They would just be like, well, as you know, I'm pro life. You know, and I'd be like, well, what's that mean? You're running for Congress. How's that going to affect anything? What are you going to do in a matter of the legislator to be pro life? Are you going to push for an amendment? Well, no, I'll just pass legislation. Okay, but how? Like, you
Yeah.
are aware that we need Roe v. Wade to be overturned, correct? And they had no clue. And what I realized is, it's not that the average person isn't qualified to govern, to be a leader. It's not that. Your lack of qualifications is not knowing how to get elected, which is a completely different skill set. You don't have a big amount of money. You don't have a big infrastructure. You don't have the right connections, right?
Yep.
So never feel intimidated, like I don't want to get involved because I'm out of my league. No, bullshit. You're fine. The only thing those people on average have that you don't have is that they have connections and they know how the game's played. But that doesn't make them a better leader than you. That doesn't make them a better governor or a better school board member or a better congressperson. It just means they know how to play that game to get elected. And I'm hoping that one of the things, it's taken 10 years, but with Trump, who is obviously an outsider with huge advantages, being a billionaire and being a known commodity, but I think it's starting to show people like, yeah, man, it's okay. You don't have to go the traditional, like, you know, oh, I was a lobbyist or I worked on such and such's campaign and then I was sort of trained to eventually take over the reins of power. You could just be an outsider. And so I hope that what we see is more people start to say, hey, I'm actually going to run or support people that are running against these terrible people. But Horowitz is exactly right. You focus in your own backyard first.
Yeah.
Like, that's the issue. And that's what I was telling Miggy there previously. Like Susan Collins, sure. Don't get me wrong. Would I love to see someone who is more right-wing than Susan Collins? Sure. But that's not the problem. The problem's the shitheads we have in Utah.
Well,
Right,
I'm
that's
working
the
on
problem.
getting the state of Maine to be more conservative so
I
we
know.
can get a better person than Susan
I know
Collins
you
eventually.
are. But you know
But-
exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, right? Like,
Yeah.
so.
But here's the thing. You're absolutely right. My partner, Larry Lockman, he was in the legislature for numerous terms. And I would argue, is one of, if not the most, when he was in, conservative legislators, state legislators in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes this joke every seminar, or pretty much every event he goes. He just says, back in 2012, when I first got in office, I was walking these hollowed, halls with, that Joshua Chamberlain and, so many legendary Mainers, walked. And I was wondering, how the hell did I get here? And then I started talking to my colleagues, and then I wondered, how the hell did they get here?
Yep.
It's a matter. You said it perfectly. Anyone, if they do the right things to campaign, can win. In the right district, that is. In my case, in Portland, Maine, if you're a hardcore conservative, there's no chance. But, if you're in one of the rural districts, you have a good chance to win. The problem is that a lot of these people that are running on the conservative side, they have no experience, like you were saying.
Yep.
And the left, they recruit people to run at a local level first, and they build a good bench of candidates. So then they graduate to then run for the state legislature, and they already know how to campaign. They already know how to raise money, be it maybe not as much as they need to run for the state legislature, but they know how to raise some money, right? Running for school board or city council or what have you. And then they graduate and they run for higher office, and they already also know how to govern and take, pressure that happens when you hold office. Excuse me. And things of that nature. That's really the one, aside from the other sundry things I've talked about on your platform quite a bit, is folks, You don't need to run for state legislature right away. Run for school board.
Yep.
I guarantee you, your school board, if you look into it, is run by communists.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to bet, even in the heart of Texas, they're run by communists. I'd bet my life savings on it. So the best course of action is to stem the tide there, run for local office, learn how to do it. And school board's great because right now that is the local position that is also kind of in the hotbed of politics these days. So you also get to feel the pressure of what it takes to be a legislator. And then once you're in, local office for a few years and you already have kind of a known support group that is that infrastructure you were talking about, Rob, then run for higher office.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the other thing. Like, it goes both ways because I don't want to. I think oftentimes when I talk about this, I give like people think I'm saying, well, you're obligated to run for these offices. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not. What I'm saying is that you ought to take interest. And that doesn't mean that your role is running for the office. There are plenty of things that you could do. Everybody thinks that the options are either like, I have to be the big man or there's no sense participating. So if I'm not going to be the candidate, what's the point? If I'm not going to be the governor, what's the point? And I think that's the exact wrong attitude. There is so much that you could do, not just politically, but culturally, to help move things in a positive direction. And one of the easy low-hanging fruits is getting involved in local politics. And it doesn't even have to be running. You could just go to chances are, as you filter down, things get less shady. Now, there's still small town shady shit that happens, don't get me wrong. But the chances are your county Republicans probably aren't that fucking crazy, right? They're probably
there's some infighting even there, Rob.
I'm blacklisted basically from my county, right? Yeah. But the reason for that is because I wanted to move up the ladder and try to change things, and they didn't like that, right? Yeah. But just going, I go to this event, Rally on the Rock. It's put on by Bradford County Commissioner Doug McClinko. I go there once a year. I'm actually going to miss it this year because I have a wedding. But it's amazing. You go, they have Civil War era cannons and stuff there that they're shooting off, and they have a gun range where you can shoot all manner of guns. They have a band, they have a bunch of food, they have speakers, and they sort of set forth an agenda that we're trying to do in Pennsylvania. I go there all the time, and I fit right in. Like, you would think, who am I? I'm just some sort of nobody. At the end, it's always like 12 of us sitting around, and it'll be like 2 or 3 U.S. representatives, congressmen. There'll be like Stacey Garrity, that's the Republican candidate for GOP, or a Republican candidate for governor here in Pennsylvania. She's always there. And so it's like, I'm getting my opportunity to sit there and talk to these people. And sometimes the most interesting people there are people that are just like, I own a bakery and I don't really know much about politics, but those steps, like just getting involved with other people, like just at the beginning levels of politics, it's so important. If you can accomplish that first step, whether it be just going to your county Republicans or, going to some sort of rally or something like that and getting to know people with an open mind, that's the hardest part. Like, it's sort of like they always say, like, motivating yourself to go to the gym's the hardest part. Once you're there, it's like, oh, okay, you fall into a routine and it's not so bad. So that's always my recommendation. Don't think that you have to be, you're like, well, I would love to run. I would love to do something, but I'm afraid to run for office because I'm not a good public speaker. Right. You don't have to run for office. You don't have to be a public speaker. There's plenty of things that you could do just getting involved. So,
I made a career out of it. Yeah. The thing is that you need someone to be the front man for sure. You need the inside man that's in the legislature to actually sponsor the bills. Yeah. But you also need people on the outside as force vectors pulling people to the right. And that's and starting organizations, whether it be a local organization or a statewide organization or even a federal organization, or volunteering for one and learning. there's so many things you can just learn by just getting involved. You'll see how things are actually work. You know, people on the outside of politics seem to think that it's this like kind of magic juju thing that we do, and it's really not. It's very simple things, but it's very hard to do, and a lot of it takes a lot of discipline. That's the thing for candidates, but also for activists to keep on, you know, getting involved and staying involved.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And to your point with I mean, I met so many, you know, of these politicians. And I laugh when you said that the most interesting people aren't them. It's really, you know, the everyday person, the small business owner that's more interesting. The activists I find more interesting. These politicians, they're nothing special. They're nothing special at all. They just like they have what they do have. I will say they have a couple things that most people don't. Most of them are narcissists.
Yep.
Most of them are. I would say if a psychologist or a psychiatrist diagnose most of these people, they're actual narcissists, if not sociopaths. That's one. Two, because of that, they know how to manipulate people at an individual level, and they also can tell what type of person they're talking to is very quickly. So they can match the energy of that person. And that's not a learned thing, that's an inherent thing that a lot of these people have.
Yeah, it's very weird. Even when I ran for office, like, it's weird. Like, I'm a great talker. I can fit in with anyone. Like, so I seem to have that skill, but I'm also not pushy. And so what I found was my thing that I was running for was a special election. So it's interesting. It's not a regular primary where everyone gets to vote. It was only conferees got to vote, and there were only like 212 of them, I think. So when you went to a county to speak, you knew like there's the 9 people that could vote right there. There's a room full of 30 people, but it's like
was
only
it kind of
9...
like a caucus type of deal?
Yes.
Okay.
Similar to that.
Similar
so
to
like
caucus.
Only those 9 people get to vote at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So does it matter, you know, that the janitor's sitting back there leaning on his broom listening to you? That guy doesn't matter for the purposes of this vote. So what would happen would be you would do the event, and then afterwards, you know, you'd be like, hey, everybody's going to stick around if you want to come up and talk. So, like, I'd go up and I'd start talking to one of the conferees, and one of the other more polished politicians would be like, yeah, that's great, Rob. No, this guy's great. But did you hear what I was talking about with blah, 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 blah? And then they would suddenly, like, put their back to me.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's them talking. And I just remember, like, this is so childish. So then I'd end up sitting over there talking to that janitor, and he'd be like, well, you know, I'm not voting. I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit.
Man, oh man, if I was your campaign manager, I would have been on your ass like white on rice on a paper plate, Rob. I would have been like, you don't let that guy box you out. You fucking get back in there.
Yes, I was just like, what the fuck? But it was funny because a good friend of mine, Carlos Saldivia, who I met through that campaign, he was the campaign manager of one of the women that was running. And he saw me at one of these events. He came up to me and was like, dude, you got to talk to me after this race. And that's sort of the shit he's telling me. He's like, look, you're very good. You're a good speaker. You have a good message. You're likable. He's like, but you don't know how the game's ran.
Right.
You like, he's like, there's, you know, and he was telling me, he's one of the people that told me, he was like, this whole thing, it was like, not to get into too many details, but the dude that was the front runner ended up dropping out the day of the vote. Right. So we're all at the conference and he drops out because it got so crazy that like his he had a previous relationship and had a kid in that relationship. And that kid started to put out basically, my dad's a piece of shit and he beat me and he pistol whipped my mom. Like insane shit. Like insane shit. And it like all of a sudden you had all these people that are tearing each other down and, you know, I'm talking to Carlos, and Carlos is like, look, this is one of the problems that we have here. He's like, there's no organization. Of course, everyone should be allowed to run, but you should also have it like where you're going to people like me, and you're like, look, man, you're not going to win this race, but here's how you could be effective with the Pennsylvania GOP. Here's what we need you to do, right? And he's like, and they didn't have that. It's just like everybody running around with it, like, what's good for me, me, and no
Yeah,
one's
it's
sitting
dogs
there
chasing
like,
cars. That's
right.
really that it real and that's not abnormal for Pennsylvania, Rob. That even the most, I would argue, and not I don't know now because I haven't been there in 10 years. But Virginia, when I was there, was probably the most professionally run state, just state political, you know, how do I put it? Local political, state I've ever worked in. I mean,
Right.
with the amount of money that's played there, like a House of Delegates race, for those that don't live in Virginia, it's similar to like a state house, a House of Representative, or a state Senate race. For a House of Delegates race, you need to raise $500,000 in order to even compete, and they have full staff on the campaign.
Yep.
They have the consultant, they have the campaign manager, and they have 2 or 3 field directors on every single campaign. I mean, that's where, if you want to break into sorry about that.
That's right.
If you break into politics, that's where a lot of folks did it, including myself. But the thing there, even though it was so professionally run, you still saw people, dogs chasing cars, because everyone in politics, and it's a natural thing, have their own motivations, and most of it is how much power and information I can get.
Right.
And that is really what the currency is. So they're all, willing to stab each other in the back, and it's hard to find good allies that won't do that. And,
it can get a little dramatic too if you're getting involved, but for me it was worth it, and I do recommend other people do it. I'll give you the last word here, Zach, but I think in general you're absolutely right. We have
what I would recommend, and what I was trying to say is it can be that way, but if you have a good core group of people, if you start a local organization that is built on, let's say, a certain policy, whether it be pro-life, whether it be guns, whatever it is, so start with one issue, and you can build a coalition through that. So your buddy, you have, let's say, a pro-life group, and then another person has, an education group. Well, you guys can go in parallel lanes and target specific races on those issues, right, on your perspective issues, and piggyback. And the thing is, you will garner more people to you than just running for office, and you'll be moving the needle significantly. But the most important part is the fact that how do I put this in a succinct way? I can't do it. I apologize. But no. I encourage people to really start, doing that type of stuff and working at the local level. And you'll be surprised how much you can really move the needle by doing so. And just to, have a little bit of a plug for Maine First, we put on seminars, and if there is a swell of people that are in your chat that want me to teach them how to build an organization, or how to actually campaign the correct way, or raise money, or whatever, I'm willing to do so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I think it's something that, again, oftentimes it's just learning how to get your foot into the door, and then you find out, like, hey, actually, like, it doesn't feel like worse or work, it feels like you're actually doing something. And yeah, that's the hardest part, finding someone that could help you, sort of understanding how to get people together and do something. So no, yeah. I really appreciate it, and I'll make sure people know you're going to be down at DebateCon, right?
I am. And in fact, the night before DebateCon, Maine First is hosting an event with Speakeasy.
Yeah.
And Speakeasy's been pushing out a lot of the details, but it's going to be barbecue and beer and some good vibes, and you get to see Speakeasy's show live, and maybe you guys can also compete for the $1,000 prize.
Yeah,
So,
I would, unless I'm super busy doing debate prep, I will probably be there. So I won't stick around to win the $1,000 prize, but I'll drink the beer and argue. I'm good at that. So
that'd be great. That'd be great. Also, Rob, real quick, after your show, could I give you a call?
Can you do it later tonight? Maybe around like 7 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
Unless it's real quick, because I got to get ready for the extravaganza after the show. But
yeah, it is quick, but I'll call you at 7. It's not a big, it's not pressing.
Excellent.
All right,
man.
Thank you.
All
right,
we'll talk to you soon. Take it easy, Zach. All right. Let's see where we're at. $31. Jeez Louise. I said I wouldn't start yelling at people till 2. What am I supposed to do here? Let me consult. It's okay. We can have a slow dono day. Who cares, right? Who cares? Zach's a very good guy. He really is. Also, I have to say that he's Jewish, and he'll cancel my $7,000 check. So, now consider sitting in those donuts. We got one more caller on the line, then we'll wrap up the show. He's Canadian. Don't hold that against him. Our good friend Crisco. Crisco, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, Rob, how are you? I'm good.
Very good.
Anyways, so we got to talk about the most important thing. It was going to be about your $7,000, but you already brought that up.
Brought it up? Yeah.
It's your PC.
Okay.
All right. So I think I have a build for you, but I need to know what you all have attached to your computer. Like, what peripherals do you have for your computer that's not a keyboard and mouse?
So I use a Shure microphone here. I forget the exact model. And then my camera is a Logitech MX Brio. I also have this camera, which is a Meet 4K cam. And then I'm trying to think. I got 2 monitors set up. I don't know if that matters. What type of monitors there are, but
No.
That's about it. I would like to have speakers. I currently don't have any speakers, and I currently don't have any access to Wi-Fi on the current build I have now. But that's where I'm at. Now I have to say, I'm definitely open to seeing whatever you say. Would this build be from a company that I'm buying this computer from? Because that's something that I'll be interested in doing.
It would be something you would have to put together.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I would tell you this: putting together a computer is as easy as putting together Lego. It's
I put
literally
this
just
one
snap,
together.
Snap.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. So I'm just looking through. I'm like, hey, I got this. Why are these? Building a computer is expensive as shit nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like going through the parts. I'm like, my computer would never be this much. And then some of the parts on my computer that I built several years ago have gone way up in price. It's like I spent around $4,000-ish on my computer. Now it's probably like $6,000.
Yeah.
And like my stuff's like 2 to 3 gens old.
Yeah, I have a friend that does the same. He builds computers and he says, I'll be honest, I'm probably just going to go to one of these pre-build places and I'm probably just going to drop $3,500 and just be like, have my friend check in with me and be like, hey, will this work? And he'll say yes or no. And then I'll go with that. But I got to get the money together for that. So hopefully it's something that I'll be able to accomplish here by the end of the week. Because I would like to have a new computer up and running within 7 days. Because there's some certain things possibly behind the scene that I'll be working on next week. It's very doubtful, but I would like to not. It'd be one less thing on my mind. So I just got to make sure that I got that sort of money together. I think I do. I try to, just so people know, this is a little inside baseball. What I try to do is keep at least 20% of everything that I earn on this channel to put back into the channel. So whether that be traveling to real life events so I could pay for like a plane ticket and a hotel and stuff, or it be getting better equipment, or, different, StreamYard or whatever shit like that you have to pay for. So I don't know how much money's there. My wife keeps it in an account, but I think that I have about $3,500 put away. So I'll just drain that account and get a computer. And I want something that I don't have to piss with for like 3 or 4 years. I don't anticipate like, oh, the new Crisis game came out and I need to play it at the highest def. I don't think that'll be my thing. I just want something that'll be reliable to do these sort of calls and, research and stuff for the next 3-4 years. So
yeah, definitely. And like the thing with, if you just go with a pre-build, I would also be very careful of a couple things, because things I've noticed with pre-builds lately, their graphics cards are absolutely atrocious. And they're way overpriced. Like they'll throw like a 3050, or like not a 3050. They used to throw 3050s, like a 5050 in, and some really crappy cheap RAM. You need to be careful of that kind of stuff, or they might not even include the RAM. I know when the RAM shortage, quote unquote shortage, started, they were not including RAM. It's like, how can you not include RAM?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So I what I'll do is, like, there's some people, and maybe I'll even, before I buy anything, I'll probably bring it up on screen and be like, what do you guys think of this? But I do have some people that know a little more about this, and that hopefully would give me a thumbs up on if it's something that they would,
Yeah, like I know somebody who just bought a laptop, same brand of laptop I have and everything, and guess what? They spent $1,000 more than I did, and it's all worse specs. And the only difference is I bought mine 2 years before. It's like,
wow, that's crazy.
Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So I'll send you the link to it, but it's just something to look at. It's like a work in progress.
Yeah, sure, of course.
If you're going to buy it, the recommendation is always to buy it all at once, right?
Right.
But with pre-builds, always be careful, just because you have to look for the RAM now and the graphics card, because you don't want to buy like a 5050. As much as Team Reddit I am, don't buy an AMD graphics card, because with the NVIDIAs, you can offload some of the streaming onto the NVIDIA card so that it's less work on your CPU.
Okay.
And with that, then you can just probably stream at a higher quality as well. So, because you don't game and stream, so it's not like your GPU is doing anything.
Right.
So, like, I got an idea for PC, but it's all from Amazon, and I'm always sketchy like Amazon.
Right. I totally get it. But no, do you got like either my email or my Discord, and you can send me?
I'll just message you on Discord.
Yeah, that works great, man. Well, Crisco, it's always a pleasure, man. Hopefully next time we're talking, I'm on a badass computer.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I wish the amount of money that, it should have been a few years ago would have been like top of the line everything. Like,
I know. Isn't it crazy? Thanks, Trump.
Yeah, thanks, Trump.
He did it. And he screwed up your country. How about that?
Yeah. And he screwed up my country. We're not even going to talk about the things. Thanks, Trump.
Shit. All right, man. Well, hey, you take it easy. We'll talk soon.
All right.
We'll see you, man.
Have a good one.
Yes, the computer saga continues. So I'm not sure if I'm doing the extravaganza. I'm currently incommunicado right now. Oh, wait, no, that's the opposite. I'm in communication. Not incommunicado. That's, what am I talking about? Baxter Boy, thank you for the $5. The great Zach Gelpy, $10, says it's coming into mail. Thank you so much. My 7,000, appreciate that. Mrs. Nothing, $10 says nothing to say, just supporting. God bless. God bless you. Thank you all so much. Yeah, Computer Saga round 3. Yeah, it's. So, Anyways, yeah, the extravaganza, I think, will probably be me, maybe Jake tonight. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Anyways, it's been a good show. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We did pretty poopy with the donos, I gotta be honest, but that's okay. Tomorrow, I will not be doing a call-in show. I think any plan that I have is hopefully I'll be taking my son to the theater. He wants to see the Sheep Detective movie. I know next to nothing about it. But he likes this show called Karate Sheep. So he's into like sheep in cartoons and movies. So I said, sure, maybe we'll do that tomorrow. So probably will not be doing a call-in show tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow is No Prep Debate. That'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern over on, well, it'll be here, but Speakeasy will be moderating that. That's, of course, where I debate someone. I do not know the topic and I do not know my opponent. Right? Oh, look at this. Craftsman Ethos, thanks for the 10. Says, Bebe says hello. Appreciate you, Rob. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I don't know what, I think it's, I don't know if it's a sheep detective. I don't know. Who the heck knows? I don't know much about it, Imaginarium, if I'm honest. Anyways, it's going well. Yeah, Colin's fun. It is. I enjoy the Colin show. So, Zach Gelpy, $10. Thanks. Says my dad wants to see the same movie. He's been talking about it for weeks. Doesn't want to go see the Odyssey, the DEI Odyssey. Man, I hate when they do like the movies that are in a genre that I think I'd like, and then it's just like, oh, we're gonna DEI it up, and I'm just like, well, I'll save my money. No, thank you. But I think we're gonna wrap her up here for today. Any last minute donos appreciated. I will see you back here tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk more about the Hassan stuff, more about stuff I mentioned at the beginning of the show. This Belgian MP that's been convicted of spreading malinformation. We'll talk about Cornyn and his loss and what that means. We'll talk more about the riots at the ICE facility last night. Who knows? We might get to see more riots tonight. Never know about those lefties, huh? Like their riots, like their insurrections. So maybe we'll have more of that to talk about this fine evening. So thank you so much to my editor, Black Elk, all of my moderators. Thank you so much to everyone who called in, everyone who donated. You guys are the best. And thank you so much to everyone who watched the show this day. Let's see if I can find someone to raid real quick over on YouTube. Let's go with JS Urban Adventure. Why not? Oh, there's my man. What's up, Avarice? What's happening? Oh, you were... My bad. I thought he was popping on. No problem. GG, thanks for the 5, man. Appreciate it. All right, we'll let you go. We're going to raid over to JS Urban Adventure. So hopefully you guys have a good time. Tell them I said hi. And as always, have a good one. We'll see you later tonight.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.